Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're driving an American icon. This is the 1962 Chevrolet Corvette, a C1 Fuelie. That is a 327 cubic inch fuel-injected V8, and this was the fastest version of the C1. You see, back in 1953, the Corvette started with an inline six, and it didn't sell very well. It wasn't an instant hit. It had competition, and later on, they put in a V8 that wasn't quite so fast, but in 1962, they offered the Corvette with a small block 327, either carbureted or fuel injected. To get the Fuelie, the fuel injection version, you had to spend 12% above the original list price. So it was not a cheap option, but those who did got the fastest Corvette of a generation. This has 360 horsepower. It looks absolutely stunning, and this is the last year where we had the wraparound windshield, a solid rear axle, and open headlights for quite some time. Now this one has been restored. In fact, the odometer reads 219 miles. I think that's very fun. We've got this gorgeous red interior, a 4-speed manual gearbox. I believe it's a Borg-Warner box. But first, let me show you under the hood. We've got our hood release here, classic Corvette. We're gonna open this direction. And there you've got it, a fuel-injected Chevy from the 1960s. This is very cool to look at. And you can see the Corvette script valve covers. That's something that you even see on Isogrifos and Bizzarinis. Now, it's a convertible, of course, and these only came as convertibles. And I love the way this hatch opens up. But first, let me show you, there's a little bit of storage space here. That's so you can put your registration. But back here, this is how you get to your soft top, which is quite convenient because, you know, you're going to want to keep the roof down as often as possible, but given the fact that we live in New England, you never know what's going to happen. So we'll close this up with a nice click. Oh, that's so satisfying. And everything on the car actually is quite satisfying when you open and close. What's also nice is this kind of big oh shit bar for the passenger. And I'll tell you what, it's warranted because this thing's actually pretty fast, like a lot faster than I anticipated. I love the Corvette script inside there with the logo and kind of a small open air glove box. Now, if we crouch down here, we can see the Wonder Bar, which is our radio, and then down here some HVAC controls and a big analog clock. Cigarette ashtray, good for your lovely passenger, probably smoking a very thin cigarette as you're driving down the street. And then this dashboard way far forward with the speaker up here. You've got your rear view mirror centered on the dashboard, not on the windshield, and we only have one rear view mirror on the door. Now, from this angle, you'll probably start to get an idea for how awkward this is to drive, because that's not a lot of room between seat and steering wheel. So you do drive this with your legs open. It's a little strange. We'll get to that in a minute. Around back, we do have the iconic quad taillights. This does look the part, but you'll notice what's missing is some beefy monster exhaust tips out here. Actually, these exhausts dump right behind the rear tires on both sides. Kind of classy, more classy than you'd expect, because you always think of the Corvette as like very brutal, but of course elegant, but that is especially cool. Back here, we'll open up our trunk with our key. And we've got plenty of space back here. Not a bad way to travel if you had to put your stuff in and go on a weekend trip. And this will do the weekend trip in style. Unlike the C3s, you fuel up on the side, kind of convenient, and that means you don't have to go and try to fuel up in the center of the car. I actually appreciate that because less opportunity for scratches. Now, it's a black car. I'm sure you've seen my grubby paw prints all over this thing. It's been very difficult to keep this thing clean, but you're definitely going to want to be traveling with your detailing spray. Now that we're all closed up, I want to start this up. We're not going to take off right away though, because I think you got to hear this idle from behind the car. It is maniacal. To get it started, we've got our key down here. I love a car where you got to reach through the steering wheel to start. Jumps right to life, but this is what you're here for. Listen to this. That is the sound of Americana, man. That's going down the main drag of small town USA, just cruising. Everybody hears this thing coming. Even the roll-up windows, they work like a charm, but look at this. Look at the frame on the glass. So our seating position is very open. I'm actually shocked that, you know, larger people drive this car. I'm a very small person, so pretty much everyone's bigger than me. We'll get our parking brake down. We've got a 4-speed manual gearbox with a reverse lockout. Very typical of Corvettes, even in later generations. Throw it in first and roll out. Not slow, I gotta say. Even by like 1960s standards, like this thing really rips. It's very light. There's not a whole lot of weight to it, I guess. I mean, it kind of drives like a pickup truck, if I'm honest. But, you know, we got a big honking steering wheel with a little bit of dead play, but not too much. We've got loads of sidewall on these 4-ply tires. That doesn't inspire the most confidence in a corner. But we've got a powertrain that just wants to get up and go. It's insane how quick the revs drop. Easy to rev match, you know, you just kind of grab it by the scruff and enjoy it. You can coerce it around a corner, but it's certainly a drag car. It's a straight line beast. I do not really feel that comfortable chucking this in. And this is when you start to really appreciate the boys who are driving these things at like Goodwood Revival. And they go out and they really hammer on cars like this. It's so impressive. I mean, it really gets out of the hole. It's got so much torque. I'll tell you what though, this is power you've got to work for. You've really got to be on your game. You've got to be shifting fast. You've got to be listening to this engine. You've got to be thoughtful. Oh man, I hate the phrase like, oh, when men were men, but this was when driving was driving, you know? You really had to put some effort and thought into it. But you can just lean on it and she's a rocket. Brakes, okay. They're okay, and I think that's as far as I'll go. They're okay, they work, they're getting me back down to speed, but, you know, they're not inspiring confidence for me to, like, run out third and fourth on this road. That would be absolutely insane. You guys can't see the smile on my face right now, but it's pretty big. I'm having a lot of fun. And I gotta say, like, hustling this thing around some corners, I don't know what this looks like on camera. This may look very uneventful, very slow, very whatever. Let me assure you, this is about as fast as I want to go within reason, you know? If I had to outrun somebody, maybe we go a little faster, but I don't have much more motivation other than making some noise and having a little fun. The throttle's got, you know, you can modulate it for sure. There's a little bit of an all or nothing attitude though when you're accelerating, I'll put it that way. You know, you can't be shy, you just gotta go for it. I'm really shocked at how fast this car is. This thing is quick. This really goes. I'm loving the gearing too. And I mean, it might just be like a short rear end. Who knows? I think you could have a lot of different options on these things back in the day. I don't think it was just like a, hey, this is one size fits all. Nice and easy through the bumps. But honestly, you know, when I first sat, this is one of those cars, this happens a lot with classics. If you ever sit in a car at a car show and you just imagine yourself trying to drive in that driving position, sometimes it can be really intimidating. This is absolutely one of those intimidating cars for me, where I sat in here and I thought, how am I gonna fit around this steering wheel? And you just contort yourself and figure it out. It eventually works out for you. There's a lot of Italian cars like that where the pedal boxes are off to the side and the steering wheel is like a school bus and all kinds of weird stuff. But I'll tell you what, if you're one of those people like me who gets in those cars and feels intimidated, just know that once you're driving, you're driving. You know, you figure it out along the way. The shifting experience, by the way, with that like the revs dropping fast and having to just get in that next gear and go for it right away. I gotta say that I was kind of introduced to that with like Camaros, and then the Bizzarini is what this reminds me of a lot. Maybe not in the handling department, but in this powertrain, the way you get into the power, the way you row through a set of gears in this thing. Woo! But for a heck of a lot less money, I'd imagine. Driving at low speeds is actually like steering a boat. You just kind of coerce it. You just kind of set it, let it course correct, come back to center. I've got all these really like deep finger grooves back here. I'm gonna go nurse the old girl. What am I saying? She's a brute. She's totally fine. I don't need to nurse this thing anywhere. This thing's great. I'm gonna go bring this back to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts. Thank you to Bond Group for tossing me the keys to this 1962 Fuelie. I am in hog heaven right now. This is the experience I did not know I needed to have. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. Thank you to the Patreon supporters who donate every month, whether it's $1 a month, $10 a month, whatever. Every little bit helps keep this and the podcast, the Respect the Drive podcast, alive. Don't forget to respect the drive. And I'll see you in the next one. Listen to this idle. Oh yeah.